All right, you all. Now we're done with the naming of organic compounds. We need to now do isomers. So basically, you guys should know what isomers are. Basically, isomers, you can say isomers or you can say structural isomers. It's still referring to the same thing. Usually, we call them structural isomers. But if the question comes and asks you what are isomers, they are still asking the same thing as structural isomers. So you guys should not think maybe these two things are different. Structural isomers, they can just say these are isomers. So structural isomers are actually organic compounds that have got the same molecular formula. So they have the same molecular formula, but they've got different structures, or they've got different structural formulae. So before we begin with the naming of organic compounds, we did a brief introduction on organic chemistry, and one of the things that we looked at is the type of formulas that we have. We had molecular formula, we had structural formula, we also had a structural condensed formula. Those were the three that we did at first. Then we later on did the general formula. So now you guys know what a molecular formula is, right?
Yes.
What is a molecular formula and how do you find the molecular formula? For example, given this compound A, this first compound here, which is our compound 1, may I have the molecular formula of this compound?
So,
Yes, come with it.
So you'll use a general formula to find a molecular formula.
Besides using the general formula, guys, what is the basic definition of molecular formula? How do you define a molecular formula? First of all, what is a molecular formula? Or what must a molecular formula show, guys? At least know. Don't just cram definitions, guys. This is all about knowing and understanding what is a molecular formula supposed to show. Just in simple terms, you don't have to define it per se. What must a molecular formula show according to what you know?
Carbon and hydrogen
elements and numbers of each atom in molecule.
Yes, it must show the total number of elements and the total number of atoms of each of the elements. So you look at how many elements do you have in this. For this example, this is a hydrocarbon. It's an alkane specifically because it's only having carbon and hydrogen only, and there are also single bonds between the carbon atoms. So the first compound is an alkane, right? So you count the number of carbons that are present, guys, in this alkane before you even go to the general formula. How many carbons are we having in this alkane? It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4. You count the total number, guys. You don't count the number of carbons found in the longest chain. No, it is the total number of carbons found in the molecule. In this case, we are having 4 carbons. So this is C4. We would write something like C4 because we're having 4 carbons, right? What about the number of hydrogens? Quickly count, guys. How many hydrogens do we have here? If you count. 10 hydrogens, right? This is like 1,
10.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 hydrogens in total. So this is C4H10. So basically, a molecular formula is that formula that shows the total number of each and every element found in this molecule, because this is a molecule consisting of only carbon and hydrogen. That is why in our molecular formula we only have carbon and hydrogen. You count how many carbons are there here. There are 4 carbons in total. You don't only count in the longest chain or in the parent chain. There are 4 carbons in total. So you put a C4 there, and then you look at how many hydrogens we have here. There are 10 hydrogens. You put a 10 here. So that's why this is C4H10. This type of formula that we have is known as a molecular formula. It gives you the idea of how many elements do you have and how many atoms of each element do you have. For example, in this case, you're having 4 atoms of carbon and you're having 10 atoms of hydrogen that are bonded together. Are we guys together on that?
Yes.
Yes. So it's a molecular formula. If I say H2O, guys, is this a molecular formula or what is it? Is it a molecular formula, a structural formula, or is it a condensed formula? H2O. Is it a molecular or a structural or a condensed, guys? H2O, just writing H2O, or maybe writing something like CO2. Is this a condensed, or is it a molecular formula, or is it a structural formula? Guys, do you understand what a molecular formula is, first of all?
It's a molecular, sir.
Yes. Why is it a molecular, first of all? Let's hear, Sam. Why is it a molecular formula?
Because also it shows the full elements of the, like, so a formula structure, say.
It shows
a full amount.
Yeah, it tells you we have got how many hydrogens. We're having 2 hydrogens in this molecule, and we're having 1 oxygen. Just like carbon dioxide, we're having 1 carbon in this, and we're having 2 oxygens. This 2 means 2 oxygens. It's very imperative, guys, for you to understand what a molecular formula is. Because if you cannot do a simple count on the number of carbons and hydrogens, it will be very difficult for you guys to know what isomers are in realistic terms. So isomers are what? Are basically those compounds that have got the same molecular formula. Means that they've got the same number of carbon atoms, same number of hydrogen atoms, and same number of every other atom, but they have different structures. The way their structural formula is different from one another. So for example, if we take this compound, the first one is C4H10. The full name of this compound is 2-methyl propane. So this is 2-methyl propane. I don't know, guys, if you now know how to name. So this is 2-methyl propane. And then we go to the second compound, which is butane. Let's count how many carbon is butane having there. This compound, number 2.
4.
There are 4 carbons in total. So we count, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many hydrogens is it having?
10.
There are still 10 hydrogens as well. Do you guys see that here we are obtaining a similar molecular formula, both from what? Both from the first compound, which is 2-methyl propane, and the second compound, which is butane. So basically the first compound, it is giving us, the name of this first compound is 2-methyl propane, because you guys now know how to name compounds. This is 2-methyl propane. And then the second compound, it is just butane. Both of them are alkanes, but they are different compounds, guys, because 2-methyl propane is not the same as butane. Even when it comes to physical properties, it doesn't work the same way. Maybe 2-methyl propane, it is used in cooking, but butane is probably used in making oil or something like that. So basically these are 2 different compounds, but one thing common about them, all of them, they've got the same number of carbons, they've got the same number of hydrogens atoms in them. But are they the same compound? No, because you can see that compound 1, it is branched, it is a methyl group, but compound 2 is not branched. But all of them, they have the same number of carbons, same number of hydrogens. So we call those structural isomers, or we just call them isomers. We are still defining what an isomer is, remember. So basically the first compound is 2-methyl propane having 4 carbons and 10 hydrogen. The second compound is butane, still having 4 carbons and 10 hydrogens. These are both different compounds when it comes to physical properties and chemical properties. They are not used in the same way. Okay, we don't find them in the same places. They don't even have the same structural formula. That's why we say that although they have the same number of carbons and hydrogens, although they've got the same molecular formula, but they've got different structures, they've got different structural formulae. Because if you look at the first structural formula, it is having a branch, the second one is not having a branch. So that's the difference, at least that I can see from here. So do you guys see that here we can say that the 2-methyl propane and the butane, they are isomers of each other? Can you say that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can now say that because they're having the same number of carbons, same number of hydrogens, same number of any other element, but they are different structures and they're also different physical properties. They don't work the same way. Okay, so let's go to example number 2. Example number 2, just do a quick molecular formula, guys. There, that's an alcohol here, and this alcohol is known as 1-butanol. I am no longer teaching naming, you guys already know how to name. So this alcohol is 1-butanol. So as this alcohol is 1-butanol, I would like to know, guys, what is its molecular formula? Give me the molecular formula quickly. Quickly, guys, molecular formula.
C4
C4
H10
H10 H10O. Yes, excellent. This is the molecular formula of 1-butanol. Okay, let's look at its pair, the second compound here. Let's look at this second compound. Looking at this compound, this second compound, give me its molecular formula as well. Yes, Orifa?
That's the same thing.
State it, please.
C4H10O.
So it's C4, H10, and O. So we're having 4 hydrogens, 4 carbons, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're having 10 hydrogens. If you count the total number of hydrogens in this, they are 10. And then you're having 1 oxygen here, guys. You don't only count the number of carbons and hydrogens only, you count each and every element that is present in this particular organic compound. So you guys can realize that both of these, they're having the same molecular formula. Both of these, they're having the same number of carbons, same number of hydrogens, same number of oxygens. You guys can see that these are the same molecular formula. But now when it comes to their structures, they don't have the same structures. What difference can you notice, guys, between these two? The second compound, its name is known as butan-2-ol, or you can say it's 2-butanol. Sam, what is the difference? What can you see the difference between their structures?
So then the positional groups it's on different places.
The what?
And those functional groups.
Yes, the functional group is on different positions. If you look at the first one, 1-butanol, the functional group is found on carbon 1. This is the OH group for an alcohol. But when you look at the second one, which is 2-butanol, the functional group is now found on carbon 2. Okay, so you can see that here these are having a different structure. They've got different structures because on the first one there is an OH bonded to carbon 1. On the second one, the OH is bonded to carbon 2. But both of these, they have the same number of carbons, same number of hydrogens, same number of oxygen, making them to be structural isomers, or simply making them to be isomers. So guys, when I say structural isomers, it's still the same thing as saying isomers. Are we guys all clear, and are we guys together?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so we are going to proceed from this. I'm just going to clear these annotations so that they don't disturb me. So we are going to now proceed and look at the types of isomers that we can have. The types, yes, they have the same molecular formula, but how are the structures different now? Let's now try and look at the type of isomers that we have. So we're going to start with chain isomers. So we say that the chain isomers are those compounds that are having the same molecular formula. Remember guys, for it to be an isomer in the first place, they must be the same molecular formula. But now, how are the structures different from one another here? They're having the same molecular formula, but they're having different types of chains. Like same molecular formula, same number of carbons, same number of hydrogens, same number of oxygens, or whatever else is in the compound, but the types of chains that they have are different. So we learned of different types of chains, guys. That's why I was taking you step by step. The first type of chain that we learned about, it was an unbranched chain. So it was an unbranched chain when we say that our molecule is unbranched. Then the second one that we had, it was a branched one. We say that when we're having a branched one, we are having a side chain, a substituent. It can either be a methyl, an ethyl, a propyl, and stuff like that. So let's look at these compounds. We've already established that these are isomers in the previous slide because I said that this is 2-methylpropane, right? So the name of this compound is 2-methylpropane. But the second compound, its name is butane. So the name of the second compound is butane. So we've got 2-methylpropane on one side, we've got butane on the other side, and both of them, they're having the same molecular formula, which is C4H10. And the second one, it is still C4H10, because I've already told you guys how do you find the molecular formula. Just count the number of carbons, count the number of hydrogens. So we can say by virtue they're having the same molecular formula. But when it comes to the structures, specifically when it comes to the types of chains that they're having, they are different chains. If you look at the first compound, which is 2-methylpropane, it is having a parent chain having 3 carbons in total. So this is our parent chain. It's having 3 carbons in total. But when you look at the number of hydrogens found in the parent chain, how many hydrogens, besides the parent chain, do we have any side chains here for the first compound? Do we have any side chains?
Yes.
Yes, we're having a side chain, Angish. And what is the name of that side chain? Give the name of the side chain.
Methyl, sir.
Yes, it's a methyl group that is found on carbon 2. So this methyl is a side chain. So we can say that the first compound here, the 2-methylpropane, it is a branched compound. So its chain is not just a parent chain. There's a parent chain and there's also a side chain. So we say that it is a branched molecule. But when you go to the second compound, which is butane, we are having 4 carbons in total. So if we count and say this is carbon 1, carbon 2, 3, and 4. So this is butane. It's an alkane having 4 carbons. And do we see any branches on compound number 2, which is butane?
No, sir.
No, there is no branches. We just have a parent chain alone, just a straight parent chain. So this butane, it is a what? It is an unbranched. It's an unbranched organic compound. It's unbranched. But when we look at 2-methylpropane, it is branched because it has got a methyl group. But as for butane, it is unbranched. So do you guys realize that here the difference between these two structures is that one is branched, the other one is not branched? That is the difference, yet the molecular formula is the same. So that's the first type of structural isomer that we have, are chain isomers. So chain isomers have the same molecular formula. Yes, they have the same number of carbons, same number of hydrogens, same number of oxygens, but now they've got different types of chains. One chain is branched, the other one is not branched. Whenever you hear of chain isomers, you guys should just know that one of the chain is branched, another one is not branched. Are we clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Alright, so with that in mind, let's make another example and just draw a different compound that is not an alkane. Let's just say we draw let's just say this is an aldehyde. An aldehyde having 4 carbons. Give the name of this aldehyde, guys, if it's going to have 4 carbons. What is the name of the aldehyde? What is the name of the aldehyde having 4 carbons? What's the name, guys? What's the name of the aldehyde having 4 carbons? Hey, still people don't practice, ne? Guys, what's the name of the first aldehyde? I'm asking. What is the name of the first aldehyde? What?
So you're going to say okay, let me calculate first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 4. You're going to say prop dash 1 dash R.
You guys are not practicing. That's the problem, Sam. I taught you how to name. We did examples, but you guys don't practice. That's the problem, guys. Did we ever say that we indicate the position of the functional group in aldehydes?
No, sir.
Then why are you indicating the position of the functional group? Guys, that's butanal. That's the first compound that we have. It's butanal. You guys should get used to naming, because if I'm just going to give you problems and then you guys cannot name, it means that what we were doing was so pointless, because you guys are not practicing, not because I didn't teach it. I taught it with precision and with good description, and you guys claim to understand, but you guys did not practice, and you're gonna sabotage yourself. That's the problem. Know how to name compounds. It's very important, very imperative. If you guys don't know how to name compounds, you're going to get in trouble. Now give me the molecular formula for the first compound. What is the molecular formula?
C4.
C4.
H8
H8
O.
O. So this is C4H8O. So at least you guys know to do molecular formula. So the molecular formula of butanol is C4H8O. Let's look at the second compound. I won't ask you guys to name it because like we'll be like going back to naming one more time, whereas we're supposed to be doing isomers. So the second compound is 2-methyl propanol. So we've got 2-methyl propanol. So when we're having 2-methyl propanol like that, and then I ask you guys a question, and I say give me the molecular formula of 2-methyl propanol. What is the molecular formula? The same, right? Still going to be C4H8O. Now these are isomers. These are structural isomers just by seeing this molecular formula that is the same. They're having the same number of carbons, same number of hydrogens, as well as the same number of oxygens. That we can definitely see and is crystal clear, I think. So now the question from my side would be, what type of isomers are these? Are we going to say it's chain isomers? Like what's different between them? Be now specific on their structural formula. The difference between the structural formula of butanol, the one that we just wrote right now, guys, this one, the structural formula of butanol. Let me just go back there. The structural formula of butanol, the one that we wrote here. If this thing doesn't want to give me a pen anymore. Don't know what's wrong with it. Yeah, guys, this is butanol. This is its structural formula. The second compound is 2-methyl propanol. This is its structural formula. What is the difference between those two structures that I drawn?
Difference chain, sir.
What?
The difference is the chain, sir.
Yes, be specific now. Tell me which one has got which type of chain, which one has got which type of chain.
Okay, sir. The first one,
yes,
the 2-methyl propyl, it has a branch. The second one, the butane, doesn't have a branch.
No, we're like on example 2, same butanol and 2-methyl propanol.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
The first structure, sir, it doesn't have a branch, but the second one has a branch.
Yes, so you say that butanol, you guys should now know how to answer questions like with precision, okay? Butanol is unbranched, that's what you say. Okay, so butanol is unbranched. So we can see that it has got an unbranched chain. Simply means that here it does not have any branches, just a straight chains. You don't see any side chains in butanol. And guys, I recorded the sessions between the differences between a branched and an unbranched chain. So I expect you guys to now know what do I mean when I say branched chain, unbranched chain. So the first one is an unbranched chain. It's an unbranched aldehyde, which is butanol. But the second compound, it is a branched one because it's 2-methyl propanol. That methyl, because we are seeing that here, guys, we've got a methyl group. There is a methyl group there. So basically, this is 2-methyl propanol. So that's 2-methyl propanol. It tells us that this is a side chain. This that we have here is a side chain. This that we have here is a branch of this organic compound. So this chain, we are not going to say that it is unbranched because it has got a branch in it, right? So we can say that this is a what? This is a branched chain. Okay, so you say that this is branched. Do you guys all see that?
Yes.
All right, so now you can see that we're having different types of chains. One is branched, one is unbranched. So we can say that yes, these have got the same molecular formula, but the types of chains that they have is different because one is unbranched, one is branched. So do you guys now understand what chain isomers are?
Yes, I understand, sir.
What about everyone else? Are you guys understanding what are chain isomers? Are we understanding what they are?
Yes, we understand.
Yes, so that chain is just a specific type to explain what their structures are different because one is a branched chain, another one is an unbranched chain. So they are different types of chains. Hence, we call them chain isomers. Are we guys clear on that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome, guys. Hey, guys, please do practice naming. I'm serious on that one. Please practice naming because it's very essential for organic chemistry. Okay, so now let's look at the positional isomers. The second type of isomers that we're going to look at is the positional isomers. Okay, you can hear from the term there is a position there. So there must be a difference in the position of something. But now let us read this through a definition. So positional isomers are compounds that have the same molecular formula. All isomers, guys, they must have the same molecular formula no matter what. They must have the same number of carbons, same number of hydrogens, same number of oxygens, if we have oxygens, of course. But now they've got different positions. The position where you find the functional group is different. Means that on one compound you can find the functional group on carbon 1, another one on carbon 2, another one on carbon 3, but they have the same molecular formula. So you guys have now gotten used to the trend. If we look at compound 1 is named 1-butanol. So this is a primary alcohol. You guys can see that this is a what? Is a primary alcohol. Okay, this primary alcohol is named 1-butanol because the OH group, the hydroxyl group, the OH group, the one that helps us identify, this is the functional group for alcohols. It is found on the first carbon or on the terminal carbon of this organic compound. So this is your carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, and carbon 4. This is how you guys name the compounds, right? So this is 1-butanol. So we are sure that the position of the functional group or the position of the OH or the hydroxyl group, it is found on carbon 1. This is 1-butanol. If we want to compute its molecular formula, you guys can evidently see that this is C4H10O because we're having 4 carbons, 10 hydrogens, and 1 oxygen. That's what makes the molecular formula of 1-butanol, or you can say butan-1-ol. And then when we go to its mate here, to its second pair, it is still an alcohol as well. It's still an alcohol, and an alcohol having 4 carbons, this is still an alcohol, and its name it is 2-butanol. So the name of this is 2-butanol. So you're having 1-butanol on one side, you're having 2-butanol on the other side. When we compare, when we try to make the molecular formula for 2-butanol, we're going to find out that there are still 4 carbons here, guys. We've already done this one as an example. So there are 4 carbons, there are still 10 hydrogens, and there is 1 oxygen. So this is 2-butanol. So you realize that the molecular formula or the number of carbons and hydrogens and oxygens found in 1-butanol, it is equal to the number of carbons and hydrogens and oxygen found in 2-butanol. So they have the same molecular formula. But now when it comes to the position of the functional group, it is different. When we look at 2-butanol, this 2 already indicates to us that the OH group or the hydroxyl group, which is a functional group for alcohols, it is found on carbon number 2. Even if you name these guys, you would have to say this is carbon 1. You would have to say that this is carbon 2. You would have to say that this is carbon 3 and this is carbon 4. So basically you can see that the position of the functional group for the second compound, it is found on carbon number 2 in the parent chain. So there's different positions of the functional group, or the functional group, it is found at 2 different places, 2 different carbons on the parent chain. Okay, that's their difference. Guys, both of these are unbranched. Do you guys notice that these are both of them, they are unbranched alcohols? Do you guys realize that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, they are both unbranched. There is nothing that has got a side chain. This OH, guys, it is not a side chain. It is a functional group. Never treat it as a side chain or a substituent. So both of these are unbranched. So their chains are the same. Both of them, they've got the same chains. So if you say chain isomer, it's already wrong because both of them are having the same chains. Both of them, they are unbranched. They only have 4 carbons. That's the parent chain and nothing else. But the difference between their structures here is that the OH in the first compound, the OH in 1-butanol, the hydroxyl group in 1-butanol, it is found on carbon number 1. As you can see, it is found on carbon number 1. But as for 2-butanol, the second compound, the OH group, the hydroxyl group, it is found on carbon number 2. But still, they have the same molecular formula. They have the same number of carbons, same number of hydrogens, same number of oxygen. So these are positional isomers. We term them positional isomers. So positional isomers have the same molecular formula, but they've got different positions of their functional group. These are two different compounds, by the way. 1-butanol and 2-butanol, they are not used in the same way. They are both alcohols, yes. They share the same homologous cells, but you only find that 1-butanol, it is probably used in cleaning your tables. Maybe in hand you're gonna find 1-butanol, but you're going to find 2-butanol inside an energy drink. So there are two different compounds, different physical and chemical properties. They are not used the same way, they don't work the same way, but they've got one thing in common, same molecular formula. But when it comes to their structures here, you can see that on the first compound, the OH group is found on carbon 1, the second one is found on carbon 2. Is everyone understanding what I'm saying about positional isomers?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so guys, this is by just by
Yes.
definition. By definition, we just say that they are found on different positions of the functional group, right? But if we have to have something like this, for example, C, and then let me just say carbon here, and then have a methyl group here. So I'm not going to draw a carbon with 3 hydrogens anymore. You guys now know how a methyl group looks like. Been like practicing the entire time. So this is an organic compound, an alkane, a saturated organic compound. And then let me bring a pair here, and I'm going to say that this is one. Okay, for this one is okay. Let's just add another carbon here, and say we have an H here, and an H here, and an H here. Here we've got C. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then now we're gonna put a CH3 here, and then put an H here, put an H here, a H here, an H here, and an H here, here. Okay, let's look at this, guys. Let's look at these ones. So we're having two different compounds. These are different compounds, definitely different compounds, used in different ways, different physical and chemical properties. So the first compound, I'll give you its name, guys. So the first compound, it is 2-methyl propane. So the first compound is 2-methyl propane. So I'm sure you guys won't get confused with the naming, because you guys we've been naming for quite a while now. So this is 2-methyl propane. That's the first compound. The second compound, when we name it, is going to give us 3-methyl propane. This is still 3-methyl propane. So we're having 2-methyl propane. Yes. Yes.
I think it's 5 carbon, isn't it? Pentane.
Oh yeah, pentane there. Oh yeah, thank you so much. It's pentane there, guys. Hey. Okay, so 2-methyl pentane, and then the other one is 3-methyl pentane. Beautiful. So you must be very careful on the naming as well. Okay, so 2-methyl pentane and 3-methyl pentane. Those are two different compounds. Now, what is the difference between them? We're gonna go for a 10 minutes break right now, just in less than a minute. You guys will come and tell me the difference between 2-methyl pentane and 3-methyl pentane. Is it a difference in their chains? Are they having two different chains or what? Yeah, you guys are going to tell me that after the break. Just take a snapshot of this activity. After the 10 minutes break, you guys are going to explain to me the difference between these two compounds. Are we together? Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Edu-ca-te is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes. So this is the task that I had given you guys prior to the break. Basically, I said we've got 2-methyl pentane, which was the first compound here, it's 2-methyl pentane, and then the second compound is 3-methyl pentane. So both of them, they are pentane structures, right? Now they have the same molecular formula. We can prove that by just counting the number of carbons and hydrogens, of which we don't have to do anymore, but it's fine. There are 6 carbons in each of them, and there are 6 carbons, so there are 6 carbons in each of them, and then there are 14 hydrogens in each of them. So there are 6 carbons and 14 hydrogens in each of these compounds. So the molecular formula for both of them is C6H14, right? Even the second one, it is still C6H14. But now the thing is, we have got 2-methyl pentane and we've got 3-methyl pentane. They've got different names. It implies that they are different organic compounds. They might be the same homologous series, but they are different. My question was, what is different between these two?
They are different is the positions of the methyl groups.
Yes, it's the position of the methyl group. Because you can see that in compound number 1, the first one, which is 2-methyl pentane, the functional group, not the functional group per se, the methyl group or the side chain, which is CH3, it was found on carbon number 2. Because you can see that this is your carbon 1, this is your carbon 2, this is carbon 3, 4, and carbon number 5. So this methyl group was found on carbon 2. That's why the name is 2-methyl. But when you go to the second compound, your methyl group was found here, and this is on carbon number 3. So that is 3-methyl. So if I say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, it means that here my methyl group is found on carbon number 3. So my question is to you guys, why do I not say that these are chain isomers? Why don't I call them chain isomers? Yes, Sam.
It's because of they have the same chain but different positions, or same branches but different positions of branches.
Exactly. So they've got the same type of chains, guys. The first one, it is branched. It's a branched because we've got a branch which is the CH3. The second one is also a branched. So you cannot say that these are chain isomers, because for them to be chain isomers, remember guys, as I've already explained to you, one of them must be branched, another one must be unbranched. So one must be unbranched, the other one must be branched. If one is branched, then the other one must be unbranched. So basically, here you can see that both of them, they are branched. They've got a methyl group. So both of them, they are branched. So you cannot classify them as chain isomers. But the position of their methyl group is different. So this methyl group is not really a functional group per se, but its position on both of these is different. So we still classify it as positional isomer. But when it comes to definitions, when you define it, you just say these are organic compounds that have the same molecular formula, but now they've got different positions of the functional group. But not necessarily that for this second example, OCH3 is a functional group, no. But the fact that we've got the same methyl group, but on different positions, now you say that these are what? These are positional isomers. Are we together, guys?
Yes.
All right. Okay, let's do one more last two examples of this. If we've got C, we've got C, we've got C, we've got C, and then I put a double bond here, and then I put our H here. So give the name of this compound that I'm about to draw here. What is the name of this compound? The first one, what is the name?
Okay, it's a 2 butene.
So this is 2-butene, or you can say that this is but-2-ene. Okay, and then what about the second one?
So it's going to be 1 butene or just butene.
It's 1-butene, not just butene. Sam, if you just say butene is wrong. Okay, 1 doesn't mean, it's not the same thing as saying just butene. No. So it's 2-butene, it's 1-butene. Okay, so perfect. Now the thing is, you can see that both of these are alkenes. Both of them, they are alkenes. Both of them, they've got a double bond. You guys can see the double bond. But now when you look at the double bond here, for the first compound, it is between carbon 2 and carbon 3. That's what I can see here. That if this is your carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, and carbon 4, your double bond is between carbon 2 and carbon 3. But when we name it, we're going to say that the double bond is on carbon 2. That's why we name this as 2-butene. And then when you go to the second compound, if we number these carbons in the right order, this is going to be carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, and carbon 4. We still have the same double bond, but now the double bond is here between carbon 1 and carbon 2. So do you realize, guys, that the position of the double bond is no longer at the same place?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's now on carbon number 1. So we now say this is a position, these are positional isomers of one another, because if you try to check out the molecular formula, is the same. We're having 4 carbons, we're having 8 hydrogens in both of them, C4H8. Second one is still the same thing. We're having 4 carbons and we're having 8 hydrogens. So this is the molecular formula. You just count the number of carbons, the number of hydrogens. They have the same molecular formula, but when it comes to this double bond or this functional group, it is at different positions. On the first one, it is found on between carbon 2 and carbon 3, but on the second one, it's between carbon 1 and carbon 2. So it's more like we've shifted the functional group in a sense. Do you guys all see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, last one, last simple one. We'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to put a double bond O here. Okay, so if I put hydrogens in each and every remaining bond here, what is the name of this compound? Yeah, formulate the name of this compound, please.
It is going to be 2 pentanone.
2-pentanone. Do you guys all agree with that?
Yes, sir.
A ketone having the double bond oxygen, the carbonyl group is on carbon 2. Then now let's just make a compound with the same molecular formula. But I'm gonna do something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this is gonna be H. So do you guys see that here we still have a ketone on the second one? Still a ketone. The functional group is not really changing. The homologous series is not changing. But what is the difference? What is the name of the second compound?
3-
3-
pentanone.
pentanone.
Okay, so do you realize, guys, that both of these are ketones, and both of them, they are ketones having 5 carbons, and both of them, they are unbranched. The fact that both of them are unbranched, you cannot say that they are chain isomers. So once you say chain isomers, it's already wrong, for the mere fact that both of them have the same type of chain. They've got all unbranched chains. But now the difference between them here is the position of the functional group. If you look at the first compound, the functional group, which is the carbon double bond oxygen, this carbonyl group, it is found on carbon number 2 of the parent chain, because this is carbon 1, this is carbon 2, this is carbon 3, this is carbon 4, this is carbon 5. So basically it's found on carbon number 2, hence we name it 2-pentanone. We go to the second one. This is 3-pentanone. In this case, you can see that on carbon number 3, that is where we find the carbonyl group. That is where we find that double bond oxygen. So that's why we name this 3-pentanone. So the position of the functional group is different, but the chains are the same. Okay, the chains are the same, the homologous series is still the same, it doesn't change, but the position of the functional group is different. Do you guys all see that?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Even if you were to do the molecular formula to check, this is C5H10O. So there are 5 carbons, 10 hydrogens. If you count them one by one, even on the second one, 3 pentanone, it's 5 carbons, 10 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. So they have the same molecular formula, but different positions of the functional group. Are we guys clear on what positional isomers are now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so with that in mind, let us go to the third type of isomers that we have, which are the functional isomers. These ones, you need to be very careful on them, guys. These ones, they may seem different, they may seem complex compared to the first ones. So functional isomers, they are still organic compounds that have the same molecular formula. The standard still remains, guys. The molecular formula must be the same. So it's same molecular formula, but the functional groups are different. So it's different functional groups. Same molecular formula, same number of carbons, same number of hydrogens, same number of oxygens if they are oxygens. So everything in terms of molecular formula, it is the same. But when it comes to the functional group, they are different. And you guys know that a functional group, it helps us to identify the homologous series to which an organic compound belongs. So when we say that compounds have the same molecular formula, but they have different functional groups, it is the same thing as saying that they have the same molecular formula, yes, but they are belonging to different homologous series. Because remember, guys, that once the functional groups are different, then the homologous series are also different. Because remember, guys, that the homologous series, it is for us to identify which homologous series we are dealing with at that particular time. We need the functional group. Let's look at examples. If we look at example 1 is having 3 carbons. So the molecular formula, I'm just going to write it here, is 3 carbons, C3. Is having 6 hydrogens. Okay, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, it's having 6 hydrogens, and it's having 2 oxygens. Do you guys see the first compound here? 3 carbons, 6 hydrogens, 2 oxygens. Are you guys seeing the molecular formula, how it came to be?
Yes.
Okay. When we go to its pair, when we go to the second one is still having the same molecular formula because it's having 3 carbons as well. It is having 6 hydrogens and it's still having 2 oxygens as well. But now the difference, there is a difference there. Okay. Now, please tell me, guys, to what homologous series does the first compound belong? This C3H6, the first one here that is in the example. What is it?
Carboxylic acid, that one.
Yes, it's a carboxylic acid. Yes, it's a carboxylic acid. And the name of this carboxylic acid will be, what is the name?
It's gonna be propanoic acid.
Yes, so this is propanoic acid. It's a carboxylic acid. So it's propanoic acid. We can see that in a carboxylic acid, the functional group that we have, it is the carboxyl group. Remember the carboxyl group, it is this functional group here, guys, that has got a carbon, double bonded oxygen, and this carbon is bonded to an OH as well. So this is a carboxyl group. That's the functional group that we're having. Carboxyl group. Don't just say carboxyl, guys, it's carboxyl group. But now when we go to the second compound, to what homologous series does it belong?
Ester, sir.
It's an ester, right? Yes. What is the name of this ester? What's the name of the ester?
So it's a methyl. Methanoic acid. Methanoic.
Methyl ethanoate. Ethanoate, guys. Remember, the esters, they must end with an OH there. Please practice naming of esters. It's methyl ethanoate. So we've got propanoic acid, we've got methyl ethanoate. These two are not belonging to the same homologous series because they are different. The first one is a carboxylic acid because it consists of a carboxyl group. But when you go to the second one, it is an ester because there is a functional group of an ester. This, known as an ester link, it is the functional group of an ester. So this is a functional group for esters, but on the other side is a functional group for what? For carboxylic acid. But they still have the same molecular formula, so they are still structural isomers, but their difference is what? The functional groups. That's why we say that these are the compounds that have the same molecular formula. They have the same number of carbons, same number of hydrogens, same number of oxygens. But when it comes to the structure, the way they look like, how man, they've got different functional groups. The first one is a carboxyl group, making it a carboxylic acid. The second one is not an ester link, it is making it an ester. Okay, are you guys together on that?
Yes.
Okay, so basically you can see that these are functional isomers of one another. They have the same molecular formula, but they've got different functional group, or they belong to different homologous series. But when you define it in the exam, just say they've got different functional groups. All right, let's look at compound number 2. Compound number 2, what is the name of compound number 2? Give me the name of compound 2. This first one here in example 2.
That one's gonna be 2, 4. Pentanals.
It's pentanal, right? So this is pentanal. It's an aldehyde. It's pentanal, having 5 carbons in total. Pentanal. Okay, what about its fellow here? This second one, what is it? The second one.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Fix the mistake there, sir.
Where is the mistake? Where?
On carbon number 2, sir.
What's up with carbon number 2? I cannot. Please tell me. Oh,
So
the extra H.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for showing that, of course. Let me just try to. Hey, okay, it's fine. You guys will pretend it's not there. Remember, I kind of extracted this from somewhere else. So just pretend that is not here. But I really like that you guys are seeing that. It shows that you guys now know how to write the structural formula properly. This is not there, guys. Okay, awesome. So what is the name of the second compound if we write it correctly without the H?
So it's gonna be
pentanal.
It's gonna be what?
2.
2.
Pentanal.
Pentanal. 2 pentanal.
Pentanol. Yes.
Pentanone, guys. Hey, you guys are not practicing the naming, and it's really disappointing. Guys, go and practice naming structures. Okay, it's very important. There's no point in going forward and rushing to finish the term if you guys are not grasping the naming thing. We explained this multiple times. We did practices, you guys did practices, but you guys are lacking consistency in practice. Please go and practice. Okay, so this is 2-pentanone. So when you look at the molecular formulas, the first one is having 5 carbons, right? So there are 5 carbons here, and then there are 10 hydrogens, and then there's 1 oxygen. And then the second one, it is still the same. It's having 5 carbons, there are 10 hydrogens, and there's 1 oxygen. Because remember, guys, the molecular formula must consist of the total number of carbons, total number of hydrogens, as well as the total number of oxygen atoms. So here we're having 5 carbon atoms, 10 hydrogen atoms, and 1 oxygen atom in both these. But these are not the same compounds. The first one is pentanal. It belongs to the aldehydes because you can see that it is having a 4-mile group. So this is a 4-mile group. In high school, you call it a 4-mile group. But when you grow up, you will call it a carbonyl, but it's fine. For now, it is a 4-mile group. So this is a 4-mile group. So this kind of tells you that these are aldehydes. Yes?
I think that 2 pentanones.
Yes.
I think we're gonna have 9 hydrogens.
9 hydrogens. So this is whoever drew the structure made a mistake. The H is here actually.
Oh yes.
Yeah. There's supposed to be 10 in total. Yeah. So this is the formal group. When you look at the second compound, which is the 2-pentanon, you can see that we're having a C double bond oxygen. But remember, guys, it's between 2 carbons, so we don't call it a formal group. It's a carbonyl group for ketones. This is a carbonyl group. So do you guys realize that both of these, they're having the same molecular formula, but now the functional groups are different. In the first compound, the functional group is a formal group for aldehydes. In the second one is a carbonyl group. Yes, Sam?
So ketones always go with aldehydes. Nama ester always go with carboxylic acid. Nama.
Exactly what I wanted to get to say, Uti, for functional isomers, we only have got 2 pairs possible, 2 pairs of functional isomers. All right. So the 2 pairs of functional isomers that we have is this. You say that the ketones, their functional isomers are aldehydes. The functional isomers are aldehydes. But for carboxylic acids, their functional group is esters, or their functional isomer, I mean, is esters. Okay, so a ketone.
It's always like that.
Yeah, it's always like that. No matter what you do, I don't think you can ever be able to make any other combination of 2 other different homologous series to be isomers functional in this way. So ketones will always become aldehydes. Just like, for example, guys, looking at the examples that we had here, the first one is pentanol. The second one is 2-pentanone. So the first one is an aldehyde. When you find its isomer, its functional isomer, specifically a functional isomer, guys, an isomer that would have a different functional group, it has to be a ketone. And then when you go to example 1, the first one, it was a carboxylic acid. The propanoic acid was a carboxylic acid. When you try to find, or when you try to make any other compound with the same molecular formula but different functional group, it has to be an ester and nothing else besides that. So basically, the functional isomers that you learn of in grade 12 will be esters and carboxylic acids, and then aldehydes with ketones. So they always move in pairs. Are you guys clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now let's just tweak our thing a bit and just have propanoic acid. So I give you propanoic acid and I say I want you to give me its functional isomer. Can you be able to write a functional isomer for propanoic acid?
Okay, sir.
Let's start here, guys. For us to find a functional isomer for propanoic acid, since propanoic acid is like a carboxylic acid, its functional isomer must be a what? Must it be, or what must it be? To what homologous series must it belong?
It must belong to the esters.
Yes, it must belong to the esters. So in other ways, my question is trying to say, make an ester that would have the same number of carbons and same number of hydrogens and same number of oxygen as propanoic acid. Because propanoic acid has got 3 hydrogens, or 3 carbons, 6 hydrogens and 2 oxygens. Make an ester like that with the same number of carbons.
So it's gonna be methyl ethanoate.
Methyl ethanoate. Okay, Sam, can you try yours? Can you try to make an ester from this?
I was going to say that, sir.
Also, that's the only possible combination, methyl ethanoate. Which other ones can you make? Nonkulle, which other one can you make, Nonkulle? Oh, she's muted. It's fine. Okay, so let's try your methyl ethanoate, guys. So methyl ethanoate has an ester. Remember, guys, we need to have what? A carbon that is bonded to 3 hydrogens, which serves as your methyl, okay, or the alcohol part. It was an alcohol before. Then now you put your border, which is your oxygen, your boundary, and then on the other side you say ethanoate, right? So it must have 2 carbons, and the first one must have a double bond, oxygen, and then there must be H. Do you guys all see that this is an ester, still having 3 carbons in total, 6 hydrogens and 2 oxygens? Do you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So this is methyl ethanoate. Even ethyl methanoate can still work. Okay. Do you see that, guys? Even if you do like ethyl methanoate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's another combination that you can do then. Okay. All right, it's fine. So let me just give you guys an activity here. This is activity number 1. Please, guys, try to attempt this right now, quickly, so that we can just do corrections once off. Okay, guys, we're not gonna do all of them per se. Yeah, but at least, okay, let's at least look at and state the type of isomer in each of those following. Yeah. So the first pair that you're given is pentan 2-on and pentan 3-on. So you've got pentan 2-on and pentan 3-on. What type of isomers did you find them?
It's a position isomers.
Positional isomers. Yeah, so these are positional isomers. So do you guys need me to write the structural formula, or you guys can identify from the name?
Identify from the name, sir.
Yeah, if you can identify from the name, guys, there's not really a need for you to write the structural formula. But if you cannot be able to identify just from the name, write the structural formula of pentan 2-on and also write the structural formula of pentan 3-on. Then compare those two structures, try to see what is different within them. Okay, so basically here for this one is pentan 2-on. So it means here the on, which is the functional group for ketones, it is found on carbon number 2, right? The carbonyl group is found on carbon number 2. But when you go to the second compound, this is pentan 3-on. So it means now that our functional group is now found on carbon number 3. So here we're having different positions of the functional group. Hence, we can say these are positional isomers. Okay, so it's positional isomer. And then what about the second one? 2-methyl pentane as well as hexane. What are these?
The chain isomers.
Chain isomers, right? So these are chain isomers. How did you guys identify that? Did you write the structural formula completely?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you can write the structural formula completely, guys, if you cannot see that these are chain isomers. So let me just write for B. Okay. So let me just write for B and say for compound B, for problem B, we've got 2-methyl pentane. So it means we've got 5 carbons. And then on the second carbon, we've got a methyl group. So this is your structural formula. So this is 2-methyl pentane. And then on the next one, we have got hexane. So it means that it's an alkane having 6 carbons. So it's an alkane having 6 carbons in the parent chain. Hexane 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the rest here is hydrogens here. So what's the difference between these two compounds?
The other one is branched, the other one is not branched, sir.
Yes, so the other one is branched, the other one is not branched. So this means that these are what? These are chain isomers, because one has got a branched chain, another one has got a straight chain. So one is a branched chain, another one is an unbranched, or you can say it's a straight chain. So these are chain isomers. Okay, but you guys can also identify from the name, by the way. Okay, if you guys practice a lot, you guys will get used to drawing these formulas in your mind. This 2-methyl pentane, you must be able to just picture it and say, okay, it's having a methyl group, a side chain on carbon 2, and it's having 5 carbons in total. If you guys get used to practicing this, you will end up being able to just picture this in your mind without writing down the structural formula. Even when I was setting the question, I was picturing it in my mind. It's because of practice. But hexane is just a straight chain. There's no branch there. We haven't been told of an alkyl substituent, because from the name we are supposed to identify the alkyl substituent. So we can say that that's an unbranched. So basically, those are chain isomers. So do you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
What about C? What type of isomers are C?
Functional isomers.
Functional isomer. How did you guys say? Did you write the structural formula as well?
So
Yes, sir.
also we see it from the combination.
Yes, you just look, guys, at the the homologous series. The first one is having an anoic acid suffix, so this means it's a carboxylic acid. The second one is having an anoate at the end, it means it's an ester. So if they've got the same molecular formula and one is an ester, another one is a carboxylic acid, it gets us back to the functional isomers, because we say that in a functional isomer, basically the carboxylic acid, whenever you find a functional isomer for them, is definitely going to be a what? It's going to be an ester. So you can just identify from the name, or you can write the structural formula one by one. What about the last one, D?
The last one is also a functional isomers.
So this is still a functional isomer, right? Yes, because we've got an aldehyde and a ketone. So when you've got an aldehyde and a ketone and they've the same molecular formula, then it means that they've got this different functional groups or different homologous series. One is a ketone, it ends with anal. Another one, one is an aldehyde, it ends with an anal. Another one is a ketone, it ends with this ONE. So you can say that these are functional isomers. Otherwise, guys, if you cannot identify this way, write down the structural formula complete. So we are going for the last 10 minutes break. You guys should do 1.2. For each of the following molecular formula, write the structural formula of 2 different isomers and state the type of isomerism. 10 minutes.
Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video, and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Edu-ca-te is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes.
So the instruction for the question was, for each of the following molecular formulae, write structural formulas of 2 different isomers and state the type of isomerism. So now you are given a molecular formula and you have to write 2 structural formulas that are isomers of that are sharing this molecular formula as isomers, and you must state the type of isomerism between them. Is it a chain isomer? Is it a positional, or is it a functional isomer? Okay, let's start with C5H10O. Let's do the solution. C5H10O. So which 2 compounds can you try to write down their structural formula using this molecular formula, C5H10O? Which ones did you guys find? Yes, Sam?
Alcohol, sir.
What?
Alcohol, sir.
Alcohol. Okay, can this be an alcohol, guys? Really?
No, sir. No,
Wait,
no.
okay, Sam, let's hear from you. Were you able to draw an alcohol with 5 carbons and 10 hydrogens in total?
Yes, sir.
Aye, that's impossible. How can an alcohol have 5? Okay, let's just try to draw it your way. So it's having 5 carbons, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it's having 10 hydrogens. That's what you say, right?
Yes, sir.
Those hydrogens, they are attached to the carbons.
Yes, sir.
All of the 10 are attached to the carbons, like this.
Yes.
Okay? 9. Okay, this is 8, 9, and 10. Yes? What else?
Therefore, sir, I added O in this last carbon, in last H. Now, how all up, sir?
Oh, so you added an O here.
Yes, sir.
No, that's impossible. Oxygen, guys, it must have 2 bonds in total. Hydrogen can never carry 2 bonds. Hydrogen, guys, can only carry 1 bond. Let me just write it here. Hydrogen carries only 1 bond. It cannot have more than 1 bond.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes.
Let me fix it. Ngale ngo O, ngeza ngo H. Sorry.
Bhale ngo O, oweza ngo H.
Yes, sir.
Okay. O, then H, like this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's count now. How many carbons are we having? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What about the number of hydrogens? Let's count them. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They cannot be 10.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically, I wrote that like the wrong way in paper so that you can never fit 10 hydrogens. Guys, just you guys don't study the general formula. And what's the general formula for, and guys, I told you how to identify the homologous series just from the molecular formula. You look at the relationship between the carbon atoms and the hydrogen atoms. What is the relationship between carbon and hydrogen here? The atoms. When you look at carbon having 5 atoms, I'm just saying C5, so it's carbon having 5 atoms, hydrogen having 10 atoms. What is the relationship between 5 and 10? That's the question.
So it's going to be an aldehyde, sir.
Then aldehydes and a ketone, sir, on the first one.
Yes, you can make an aldehyde and a ketone, guys, because you can see that here, you just turn this into a general formula, guys, because if you are failing to identify the homologous series just from the molecular formula, you're going to have big problems, okay? Guys, here we're having 5 carbons and we're having 10 hydrogens. 5 carbons and 10 hydrogens. You realize that here the number of hydrogens is actually double the number of carbons. That is the general formula for all aldehydes and ketones. It says that CnH2nO. Guys, know and understand that the general formula, it applies to each and every organic compound in that homologous series. So if I say that the general formula for ketones is CnH2nO, it means each and every ketone, it follows the same general pattern. What is that general pattern? The pattern is saying that when we've got a certain number of carbons, which is denoted by N, the number of hydrogen atoms will be double the number of carbon atoms, guys. Please, guys, I have done this like multiple times. But you guys want to rush and finish organic chemistry without understanding simply converting a molecular formula and make it a structural formula. You cannot do that if you don't know the homologous series. Guys, you need to know how to interpret the general formula and relate it to the molecular formula. When you've got a certain number of carbon atoms, the number of hydrogen atoms must be 2 times the number of carbon atoms. So when we've got 2 carbons, we must have 4 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. This can be an ester or a ketone because this general formula, guys, it belongs to both esters and ketones. Here you are given a scenario, you are given a molecular formula, not a general formula. Now I want to show you guys how does this relate. You are given a molecular formula, is C5H10O. When you need to now browse through and ask yourself, generally, what is the relationship between the number of carbon atoms and the number of hydrogen atoms. What is the relationship between those? Between 5 and 10? What is the relationship? What is the relationship between 5 and 10? That's my question. Simply that. How are they related, 5 and 10?
It's doubles.
It's double. So basically 10 is actually the double of 5. It means you've multiplied 5 times 2. So it means generally if you have got a certain number of carbon atoms, in this case it was 5 carbon atoms, to obtain the number of hydrogen atoms, you have multiplied the number of carbon atoms by 2. That's why we write it as CnH2n. You guys need to get used to generalizing things. When you have a certain number of carbon atoms and the number of hydrogen atoms is twice the number of carbon atoms, and we have an oxygen, this is generally telling us that this is a ketone or an aldehyde. We did, guys, the general formula for each and every homologous series. We even did practices for you guys to identify. I can even show you the activity that I gave you guys, and few of you answered it, yet you guys want to finish organic chemistry. Let me just show you an activity that I gave you before we even started naming organic compounds. Before you even started naming organic compounds, I gave you an activity to identify the homologous series if you are given the molecular formula, and I showed you how to identify it, guys. And I even gave you as a homework to say, if we have got C2H4, how do you know that this is an alkene? You look at the number of carbons and the number of hydrogen and how they relate with one another. If the number of hydrogen is twice the number of carbons and there's no other element in here, so you can just assume that generally a certain number of carbon, and for you to be able to find the hydrogen atoms, you need to multiply the carbon atoms by 2. Just like here, if you're having 2 carbons and then you get 4 hydrogens, it means that for you to get the number of hydrogen atoms, you multiply the number of carbon atoms by 2. Did I give you this activity, guys?
Yes. Okay.
Then what's the problem? Guys, you should be able to identify. This is very important. You guys don't practice enough, and I don't know for how many times have I been repeating this, but it's going to affect you and no one else. Look at this one, the one that we're dealing with right now, an aldehyde or ketone. You are having 4 carbons, you are having 8 hydrogens. The number of hydrogens here is 2 times the number of carbon, and there's also an oxygen. So you can just write this as a general formula and say that for every number of carbon atoms, which I'll denote by the symbol N, the number of hydrogen atoms will be 2 times that number of carbon atoms, no matter what it is. If it's 1 carbon atom, the number of hydrogens will be 2, and there will be an oxygen. And we say that can either be an aldehyde or it can be a ketone. So I don't know if you guys are still failing to identify it from isomers now. It's like seeming like it's a new thing. It's not a new thing, guys. You are given C5H10O. So it means that here the number of hydrogen atoms, you obtain them by multiplying the number of carbon atoms by 2. Because you had 5 hydrogens, you have 5 carbons, you've got 10 hydrogens, and you've got an oxygen. This tells you that you've multiplied the number of carbon atoms by 2 for you to get the number of hydrogen atoms. So generally, this is the formula that you have, and this can either be an aldehyde or a ketone, as we have already done it. That's why, guys, I walked you over the homologous series one by one so that you guys get to grasp these concepts. But you guys are cramming. Okay, anyways, tell me the aldehyde that you can draw from this molecular formula, C5H10O. Which aldehyde can you draw from this molecular formula?
It's
There's only one possible aldehyde that you can draw from C5H10O. What is it?
pentanals.
It's pentanal. Aldehydes cannot have any other positions, guys. There are no positions. So if we're having an aldehyde having 5 carbons, you already know that that is a pentanal structure. Okay, unless you make it have some chains, that's your choice, of course. But for this one, let's just take a simple pentanal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then now having this 5, you can do what? You can put hydrogen here, 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 and then you do the same continuously. And then on the terminal carbon, on the first carbon, you put a double bond oxygen, then you put an H. So this is pentanal. What is the isomer that you guys were able to get from pentanal?
It's a position isomer, sir.
Position isomer, okay. Positional isomer for an aldehyde. Can an aldehyde ever have a positional isomer?
No, sir. You
It can
come again with your question?
no, my question is, can an aldehyde ever have a positional isomer?
No, sir.
It
No,
can
sir.
never have it, because always the carbon that is having a double bond, it is found at the beginning or on the first carbon. That's why we are not even giving them numbers and saying pentan 1-al. No. This is pentanal one way. So what other isomerism can you apply on this?
It's a ketone, sir.
Yes, you can make a functional isomer, which is going to be a ketone, because we say that aldehydes change to become a ketone. So that's going to be H, that's an H there, and then you put a ketone. You can put it on any position, your double bond oxygen, your carbonyl group. You can put it on any position. You can put the double bond here and put a double bond oxygen there. And there's a hydrogen, there's a hydrogen, there's a hydrogen. This is one of the possible combinations that you can have, and you can say that this is a what? These two, which is pentanal and 2-pentanone. These two are what? They are functional isomers, because they say also state the type of isomerism. Functional isomers. Is this hard, guys?
No.
What other isomerism can you do on this one? Is there any other isomerism besides functional isomers? Is it the only thing that you can say, functional isomers, and nothing else?
Yes, sir.
Guys, you can even make a chain isomer from this. Don't you guys realize that? You can make a chain isomer. Guys, when you are given a molecular formula, you can make multiple different structures. If I can make a chain isomer of this aldehyde, I can create a new aldehyde that is having a branch, because this one is unbranched. So for it to be a chain isomer, it must have a branch. But for that branch to exist, since this is having 5 carbons in the parent chain, I'll just make them 4 and say 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 carbons. And then the 5th carbon, I will actually put it as a side chain. The 5th carbon, I'll put it as a side chain. And then I'll put a double bond oxygen, and I'll put a hydrogen. This is still an aldehyde, guys. The functional group is still the formal group. It is still an aldehyde. And it is still having the same molecular formula, guys. If you count the number of hydrogens and the number of carbons, it is still the same. 5 carbons, 10 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. So this is still an aldehyde. But now do you see that here? If you take your pentanal and you kind of reduce its chain, because its chain here is having 5 carbons, a straight chain, it is unbranched, it is having 5 carbons. But now you want to turn it to be a branched chain, because once we've got different chains, one is branched, another one is unbranched, those are chain isomers. So you can still make a chain isomer from this and say that this is a what? This is a chain isomer. So guys, there's no one answer on these ones. There's no one answer. You can make different combinations as long as you make sure that the number of carbons and hydrogens are going to be equal to one another, or the molecular formulas are going to be the same. Are you guys seeing that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So the first ones that we did, these are functional isomers, or you can do the chain isomers. Okay. The chain isomers, Nakona, there are 2 of them that you can do. You can choose to place your methyl on carbon number 2. That's your choice as well. So don't think that there's only one answer here, guys. So we are going to take another one, the last one that we're gonna do. Then the rest, you guys are going to do them. You send them as homework. And when I say homework, guys, I want to see it, because you guys are not practicing enough, and I don't know what's the reason why. We are done with A, yes, but now let's try B. Yeah, and you guys will do C and D on your own. B, you're having B. What two isomers can you guys obtain from those?
Can obtain carboxylic acid and esters.
Yes, guys, you can see the general formula here. This is C4, this is H10, this is O2. You look at how the carbons and the hydrogens are relating. These two are the most important, the carbons and the hydrogens. How are they relating to one another? If we're having a certain number of carbons, which is N, the number of hydrogen atoms, it is double, guys. Like if we're having like 4 carbons and no, that cannot be 10 hydrogens. This is C4H8. I meant to say 8, it's a mistake. So it's C4H8O2. So do you guys see that here? We are having 4 carbons and how many hydrogens? We're having 8 hydrogens. The relationship between 4 and 8, you guys can see that here it is double. So for you to find the number of hydrogen atoms, you've multiplied the number of carbon atoms by 2. So that's C4H8O2. So here you're going to come back and say that basically for me to find my hydrogens, I multiplied the number of carbon by 2. This 2n, guys, it simply means that you are multiplying the number of carbons by 2. Simply that. And you are also having 2 oxygens. So now this is a general way that we have used to be able to obtain this molecular formula. Now the question is, this molecular formula, which homologous series can you guys obtain from this molecular formula? From this general formula, I mean.
You can obtain it from the carboxylic acid and the ester.
Yes, so it can either be a carboxylic acid, or it can be an ester. So both of them, guys, carboxylic acid and esters, they have the same general formula. The number of carbons, for you to find the number of hydrogens, I mean, you need to multiply the number of carbons by 2. Then you must have 2 oxygens at the end. So you have a carboxylic acid and an ester. Those are the 2 possibilities that you can form from this. So what two isomers can you guys write there? Give me just a name, then I'll write it.
Butanoic acids.
Yes, we can write butanoic acid because if we have a carboxylic acid and it has got 4 carbons, as this says, C4, right? 4 carbons. Obviously, you put the functional group for butanoic acid. This is OH. Then the rest is hydrogens. You don't even have to count the hydrogens afterwards. Really, they're just going to correspond. Like, it's generally like that. You cannot change it. If you draw your structure correctly, automatically the number of carbon and the number of hydrogen atoms are going to be equal. So this is butanoic acid. It's having 4 carbons, 8 hydrogens, and 2 oxygens. What other isomer or what other compound can you be able to write from this? Any other isomer using the same molecular formula?
Gonna be an ester, say, which is, it can be methyl propanoate.
Yes, we can have methyl propanoate. This is a methyl and then you put a border as an oxygen, because for an ester you must have a border as an oxygen. Then you put a carbon, double bond oxygen after that. This is a functional group for an ester. Then here you said a methyl propanoate, so we must have 3 carbons on this left side, on this right side of the oxygen, and then we must fill them up with hydrogen atoms. Okay, so now here is your compound. This is methyl propanoate. It's still having 4 carbons, guys. Even if you count them, it's 4 carbons, it's 8 hydrogens, it's 2 oxygens, still the same molecular formula. Are we guys clear here on this one?
Yes.
Yes, so what type of isomers are these?
The functional isomers.
A functional isomer.
Yes.
It's not the only one, guys. You can draw many others from here. You can write many other structural formulas. You can even make ethyl ethanoate. It's still possible if you make this to be ethyl ethanoate. If you make this to be ethyl ethanoate, you start with 2 carbons for your alkyl group. You start with 2 carbons surrounded by 5 hydrogens. This is an ethyl. 2 carbons, 5 hydrogens. Then you put an oxygen as a border. Then you put carbon, double bond oxygen, and you're having how many carbons? 2 carbons on the other side, right? And then here we go. This is still an ester. It is still having the same molecular formula. It is still C4H8O2. But now you see that you made your ester to be a different one. You started with 2 carbons on the alkyl group. So this is ethyl. You guys now know how to name esters now. This is ethyl. And then on the other side of the oxygen, we're having 2 carbons. So this is ethanoate. Ethyl ethanoate. So this is, if you are going to say that this first compound 1, which is butanoic acid, and you're gonna take this compound 2 as ethyl ethanoate, these 2 are still functional isomers, because you taken the butanoic acid, you made it the what? You made it an ester. So these 2 are still functional isomers. You can still make other combination, but now I'm just going to do these 2. You can still make other combinations here, guys, and say you can make a propyl methanoate. You can still make that. You can make propyl methanoate. So guys, there are many combinations that you can do from this, but it needs practice. If you don't practice, you will understand this so much. Only here in the exam is going to knock you down, I promise, if you don't practice. So please make sure that you don't sabotage yourself, because we guys, you now grown ups, guys. Grade 12s are grown ups. At this point, you need to care out for yourself. So if you don't practice and if you don't pay attention to all of this, this is going to be your downfall instead of something that's going to uplift you. So guys, practice is the only thing that will help you. Okay, so you guys will complete C and you complete D. You will send it as homework. So we with that in mind, guys, let us pray and knock off.
Father, we thank you for this fruitful Lord, as we have learned, my Father.